I believe
art matters.
I believe
I believe
art matters.
I believe
art matters.
I believe
art matters. I believe
art matters.
I believe
Art matters. I believe.
We believe.
art matters.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a very special pre-show for our fundraising gala, I Believe Art Matters. Since its inception in April, Art Matters, an advocacy and fundraising initiative, has been working towards creating awareness about the current reality of artists across India affected by the COVID-19 crisis and developing support channels for them. Given the large-scale need for financial and policy support in the cultural sector, Art Matters has curated India's biggest fundraising gala by artists for artists. I Believe Art Matters. It aims to help provide the much-needed support to artists and artisans across the country, as well as celebrate their craft and tradition by highlighting their stories. Please do tune in tomorrow on Sunday, October 4th at 5 p.m. to watch some of India's most celebrated performers, over 450 artists across 70 acts, as they come together to help raise funds for India's artist community. The show will be broadcast on Teamwork Arts Facebook and YouTube channel and also on Book My Show. Now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome our host for the evening. He is one of the most recognized faces of Indian comedy, one of India's first YouTube stars with an array of videos that include sketches, stand-up, and of course, his hit talk show Son of Abish, which is fresh off its 7th season. He has performed over 1,000 shows across India and the world, including New York, Canada, and the prestigious Utrecht International Festival in Holland. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Abish Mathew.
Hello. Hey, thank you. Thank you so much for the great introduction, Ankur. It was, I was blushing, but I was getting very awkward because I was like, how do other people can see my reaction about what is being said about me? And thank you, Ankur. I will call you for all my personal fights, and I will ask you to declare this before I'm able to move on to my personal fights. So thanks. Thank you, Ankur. All right, everybody, welcome. My name is Abish Mathew. Thank you so much for joining on the stream. I am keeping the stream out and I'm looking at what you guys are saying in the chat. I've told these guys it's to see, if you're enjoying it. It's actually just for vanity. I just want to feel validated. So if you want to do that, just keep writing something or the other so I know who's watching us. We've got Namrita. She said twice. So boom, personal call outs also coming. But thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. I'll tell you, when they reached out to me, when Avik reached out to me, and when Teamworks reached out to me, I had no option but to say yes, not because they didn't give me the option to, but I'm just so indebted to the work that they have done that my answer could not have been no. So I'm very happy I get to meet everyone here. And what we're going to do today is discuss about the main gala that's happening tomorrow, because tomorrow is the day that we're actually doing this for. So imagine, I am just the opening act to the event that's happening tomorrow. And they just called me one of the top comedians in the country. So you imagine how important it is for you to make sure you go and watch all the performances that's going to happen tomorrow. But today, I'm going to be introducing you to some amazing people, and we'll be talking about what exactly art is and how it matters. And if there are any artists watching us, probably reach out to them and grow this community. Now that that is done, I am going to introduce the man who I'm very excited to talk to. Just to give you a brief, I got a huge document where everyone's achievements were written. And this guy's paragraphs, it was a PDF file, which I have to now make it into points. And then I was like, I don't want to talk about his achievements when there is so much that I can talk to him about the achievements that he's been involved in my career. So, ladies, gentlemen, and others, please put your hands together unless you're watching it on a phone, and then it'll be weird. But if you're watching it on a laptop, put your hands together, send the energy so that you know you're actually doing it, and give it up for none other than Sanjoy Roy. Woo! Don't worry, I'll make the fanfare. Woo-hoo-hoo! Yeah, Sanjoy! So, hi.
Hey Abish, good to see you.
So nice to see you.
I hope you know that we decided to do Art Matters and have a comedy sequence because I said, boss, ever since he's left India, I don't get to see him. I mean, India meaning Delhi, you know, we've all seeded from each other. I said, I haven't got to see him. At least this way we'll get to see you, boss. So
oh, yes.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
doing this.
Thank you so much for having me. I was very excited, but my words are true. I just couldn't see it. Let me tell you how amazingly this was done. And this is just a shout out to the entire backend team. I got an email. That's it. A simple email as an inquiry, which I usually would shuffle around, right? But I got an inquiry followed up with the management, proper, till I found out it's actually teamwork. And I was like, wait, raise it up, priority. So thank you for being so patient on having me as well. And Sanjoy, before we actually start, before anything else, the question I have to ask you, because this is a team effort and it is, and you are heading the team that's developing this. Could you tell us an incident because of which you got inspired to be like, I think we need to do this now for the artists because you work so close with them?
So Abish, pretty much, you know, just as the lockdown happened, and as you know, Mr. Corona, so CIO, Chief Infection Officer of the Corona Kingdom and Chiefs, and CSO, Chief Spreading Officer, they were like and stuff like that. And they decided that India was this big thing.
Yeah.
They get to Dharavi and they're like, they call up their bosses in Wuhan and like, we are out of here. We cannot do this anymore. Do you know like 1 million people take a dump in 8,000 toilets? We are out of here. You send in the army, conquer the country. Can't do this. When this happened and, you know, everybody had to lock down, we all became independent kingdoms. Every condominium was like, we are a republic, every you know, DDA flat, every whatever, the Cup Republic of Hiranandani, whatever it was. Nobody can come in, nobody could go out. So I was, you know, long hair, as you know, Abish, so people come to me and, you know, ask me for Gyan. And one of those Gyan kind of thingies, a task force thingamajig, I was like carrying on. Artists are suffering, artists ka ye hua hai. And two very senior people in the government said, but artists को पैसे क्यों चाहिए होता है? उनको कहो कि वो हमें donate करे. And I was like, maybe they were having me on. Maybe it was a stand-up of their kind of stand-up kind of stuff. And then I realized that they actually didn't have a sense of it. And they thought every artist was like Shah Rukh Khan and Sonu Nigam and, Shekhar Rabjiani, etc. And they had the money in the world and they should all donate the money to whatever the cause was. And I'm like, nee. You know, there's the sort of Ragi in the Gurdwara, there's the toy maker in Varanasi, there's the tent house guy who makes the Ganesh. And they were like, Acha, ye bhi hota hai? Meaning, ye aapka dunya hai. And I'm like, yes, which is when I came back to all my colleagues at Teamwork and said, we have to do an advocacy program that tells people what artists are about. You know, and we're not just jholewalas and we're not just getting locked up and locked out and, you know, everything that's happening to artists.
What a great analogy of like, you know, teach a man to fish and you feed him forever. That kind of like, so they are performing and that's what you'll get to see tomorrow as well. And now I'm very excited to bring on everybody else who I'm very excited to talk to because I have some information I need to pull out. So I'm going to start off with a very good friend of mine. She's a stand-up comedian. She had a one woman show before even stand-up comedy picked up. I knew about her work before I knew about any stand-up comedian in India. And she is Probably one of the funniest people I know and extremely enduring. And the reason I'm extending what I'm saying is because I'm waiting for Radhika to come back to her chair. So allow me to talk to you while I keep rambling while I'm waiting for Radhika to come. But she's amazing. She's great. And ladies and gentlemen and others, please give it up for an extremely confused looking Radhika Vaz.
Abish, I have to tell you, thank you for that. Thank you for waiting for me. I'm a dog mother now. Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm a new dog mother.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a human mom. I'm a dog mom. And the dog, it's very unpredictable. It's whining for some reason.
Okay.
And I'm freaking out slightly because the audience is going to hear that and think that I'm a nasty, horrible person in violation of PETA regulations.
Perfect. Please feel free to mute yourself every time you want to vindicate yourself from the acclaimed crimes. So awesome. Radhika, while you attend to that as well, I'm going to quickly bring on our next guest. I have met her for the first time today, but I wanted to pretend like I know her for many years before. So throughout, I might be throwing in some jabs of, Arey, aap, remember 9 years ago when we met at this gala, only same thing? Ladies, gentlemen, and others, please put your hands together for none other than Anaita Oberoi. Woo! Keep going as well.
Hello, Abish.
Hi, what's happening? Thank you so much for waiting so nicely.
Yeah, I was just actually remembering when we did meet last. It was lovely.
Oh, back in the day, I was a foolish younger man, but now I am a foolish old man. Make a t-shirt out of it, put it. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. We're very excited to have so many insights from you as well. And our final guest for the day. I do not think at this point in time, if I give him any information and then suddenly he starts talking and his voice sounds way superior than my high technology microphone, I will not keep the introduction long. I will just be saying, ladies and gentlemen and others, please give it up for our final guest of the day, none other than Rajat Kapoor.
Hi, Abish.
Yeah, you get a snap.
Snapchats I've heard of. Snapclaps is new.
Snapclaps. I thought in the poetry scene, a lot of people, which is something I'll get to, because I am a connoisseur of pop culture, and you guys are the connoisseurs of art, and that's the bridge I want to cross. Where I'll be like, hey, what about Avengers? And you'll be like, have you spoken about the artisans who actually use puppeting to generate exactly what you're seeing on screen? And then I would probably, feel embarrassed about what I'm doing. So thank you for joining us for this. Awesome.
Okay,
now,
so we're all here now.
We're all here. Everybody say hi to each other so that the awkwardness...
Hi, Sanjoy. Hi, Anaita. Hi, Radhika. Hi, Abish.
Hi, guys. Hi, Radhika.
Perfect. Anaita only chose to say hi, Radhika. I already know the allegiance in this.
I said hi to Rajat and Sanjoy.
It's ladies against gentlemen.
Radhika,
Usual divide.
No. I shall not let that happen. Radhika, you shall not play that card. This is a genuine about no one said hi to me. Anyway, before I take over about how sad I am that Anaita said hi to everybody except me, I'm gonna move forward. And I wanted to ask you, because you're all involved in the arts, in the association, how arts matters is the most important thing currently, which is why we want as many people to come. But here I wanted to ask a question that I think all of us, you can educate me, which is pop culture versus art, like the way you define it. Like, for example, as Sanjay spoke about, different artists from different pockets of the country and throwing spotlight at that. And someone like a pop culture consumer, we go to anything that's the brightest. So right now, if OTTs are brightest, we are looking at OTTs about what they're giving. Social media is brightest, so we're looking at social media. But for some of us who want to turn our spotlight towards art, what do you think is the best way to go from? So I'm going to start from Rajat so that we work our way back. Rajat, would you like to tell us?
Yeah, I don't know if this, first of all, division between high art and low art, or what you call pop art, is valid. I think all of us, in some ways, are moving across the spectrum. So you could listen to the performance of Beethoven's symphony one day and still like Mohammad Rafi, or what have you, whatever. You can read a very serious book one day, and you can just read crap the next day, and knowing fully well that it's crap, and it has its own value for whatever entertainment or you get something out of it. Otherwise, why would you do that? You know. So I don't want to deny the existence of this over the other. Having said that, there is
got you. Yay! Now that you've given the precaution warning, everything I'm about to say right now is disclosed.
No. I'm just thinking. I'm thinking right now that there is a certain kind of a practice which gets easily funded or which gets easily watched, you know, as opposed to something which is a little more rigorous in its execution and in its thought. And maybe that needs support. You know what I'm saying? So a film within the mainstream world, for example, with big stars, with song and dance and the regular formula, will get made. I'm not saying it's easy, but it has a better chance of getting made than kind of an abstract work on cinema, which also needs to be made, which also needs to be watched. And that's where support comes in, whether it's state support, which for films I know was there in the 70s in the way of NFDC and so on. And it did make a difference. It started what is called the Indian New Wave in the 70s.
Do you think an organization right now, could you tell me if there's an organization like that for artisanal artists that exists right now, or is that something we could build towards? Is there a way to sustain that in policy?
There must be. There must be a few. There must be a few, but I don't know how big the gamut of reach is, how big their work is. But I'm sure there are many individual and state efforts on that front. But NFDC, I know, made a huge difference to the world of cinema. And I can tell you this, Abish, everywhere, if you look at film history, everywhere there was film support, or there was state support. Cinema took a lead. You look at the Russian cinema of the 70s, and there was Tarkovsky and Parajanov. They were all state-funded. Private money, private capital come to them. You see the cinema of the 70s, you see the German cinema of the 70s. There was a boom because it was supported by the state. And every time the state withdraws, these filmmakers disappear. New growth disappears.
So I think that's the thing. The support from above is what's needed, which is why, example, with Art Matters, we've actually put together, you guys have actually put together a show that they're going to perform and they are going to get recognition. So, and this is to everyone in general, but specifically I want Sanjoy's voice on this, because if there are policies like that exist, what do you think, like an avid consumer of someone like me who's a viewer, who will direct myself towards whatever is shining, how do you get someone like me to pay more attention to the kind of art that exists? And this
by
is
giving you money.
All of us.
They give you 100 rupees for every show that you watch.
How do I get to know when the show is happening? That's actually incredible as well, right?
So Abish, you know, the one good thing that this whatever COVID-19 has done is that it opened up this form of communication. Though Radhika says it's like really boring sex because you have no idea how it works on the other side, and you're just a shy boy or a shy girl sitting around. But you know, truly, I mean, what Rajat said, that in terms of you have to be able to support the arts by throwing or providing support for it. The only thing that I would sort of counter him with, I don't think government has a place in terms of deciding what they have to support and who they have to support. And if you look at anything out there in the world, whether it's the Brazilian model or the American model or the French model or the UK lottery funding model, you know, there's an arm's length distance between government and the arts. Otherwise, as you yourself know, Abish, you know, you say something that's, you know, that you or Radhika or any of your sort of cohorts sort of say, and you'll be saying, bad puppy, how could you have done this? You've said this against somebody else. We'll withdraw your funding. And that is the power. And we can't afford to give. The arts can't hand over the power of their voice. The only thing that artists have, they have no money, they have no Ferraris, they have no, you know, yachts and blah, 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 because I remember telling you, Abish, when you came home, I'm going to Bombay, I'm going to become a comedian. I'm like, go for it. Remember, it's a lifestyle choice you're making.
Yeah.
And that lifestyle choice you're making is each struggle. There's going to be each struggle phase. Sometimes that each struggle phase will last your whole life. And
Yeah.
sometimes you'll be able to make it good, like all of you have. But
Yeah.
hey, what you must hang on to is your freedom of being able to do, because art is a mirror, right? And art is what reflects society around you and allows you to distill a truth from different points of view and make sure that all those truths can sit together happily without necessarily saying this is the only truth, my way or the
Highway.
highway.
Got it. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I just a quick point. I agree with what you say, by and large. In spite of that, at the height of Soviet Russia, Tarkovsky made 7 films there, state-funded.
Okay,
Well, that's-
before we actually go into that, I want to talk to the 2 artists on the panel as well about, I think we've interestedly got on to like a really incredible point where right now we're talking about policies, but for someone like me, this is when the conversation gets a little out of my intellectual pay grade. And I'm feeling like I need artists' support. So Anahita and Radhika, I genuinely had this question because what support is what we're talking about today in art. And I've seen Radhika, and I know about, as far as the world of cinema, the world of theater is concerned, as artists. How do you think right now the best way art at our level could help be not the government, but how will the audience be able to help? Anahita, would you like to take a lead on that? Like, how can people who are watching right now and people who will watch later actually get to help? Like, how do we one-on-one, customer to serve customer?
I think actually it's really interesting if you look at the history of theatre or any form of art, whenever it has been threatened, right? Whether it's a war or whether it is some kind of economic slump, or in this case, when we got hit with the lockdown, strangely, artists always find a way to find a crack and find a way to express themselves. And that never comes in the way of an artist. So we'll find our way. Right now, just before the discussion, we were talking about how we have to reimagine our art form within this strange little rectangle that we're faced with right now. That has become our stage. That has become our studio. That has become our platform. So I think artists will always find a way to perform, and they will adjust and adapt their format to whatever. There have been playwrights, Abish, who are from like Iran, where they were not allowed to express themselves. They smuggled out their scripts. And, there's a play actually that takes place all over the world by performers the play has been written by this guy from Iran who was silenced. So artists find a way. But what's important is we all need money, right, to be able to perform. And I think while artists will continue to entertain their audience and find a way to entertain their audience in whatever way they can, in fact, even during lockdown, every theatre artist, every comic, every writer went out there on Instagram, Facebook. We've all done it, right? Everyone has tried to communicate to the best of the audience, but there was no money. Money is something that we need to support, and therefore when Sanjoy, so just to give you an idea, we can all do it in some way. So in fact, we have to start thinking of the so-called artist who gets missed, so whether it is the set wala, the guys who put up our sets, or it is the costume, not even the costume designer, but the person who constructs our costumes. These people are forgotten. The rest of the people all have their moment and can go out there and reach out to the audience, but it's these guys who do need the help and support. So in fact, one of the things that we did through Book My Show from our social service wing, Book a Smile,
Right.
is paid salaries to the Rambo Circus performers. You know,
Oh, Rambo Circus in Delhi, right?
we've adopted them now.
It's nostalgia.
And they're doing fabulously now online, you know. So it's little things. And so I remember when Sanjoy talked about art matters and said, you know, let's somehow see how we can put our heads together and do it. It was just, I mean, without batting an eyelid, I just said, yeah, come on, let's do it. Because, you know, it's these people that Sanjoy has such a great sense of, you know, there is this one particular tribe of artists in this particular place who we can help, you know. And so there are hundreds and thousands of people we help. All we have to do is just come together and say, let's raise the funds.
This is as direct as it can get and so insightful. It's every time you're talking, it's like someone's narrating a story about something about history or something else that I don't know. I'm like, why don't we talk about this? This is so much more interesting what's going on. Radhika, this is to you because I feel like we guys are soul sisters currently in this entire frame of 5 good-looking faces. So as my soul sister in this, which brings us very beautifully from what Anaita said about how even artists are trying to figure to this new digital format, because during war, art takes a hit. During bad leadership, art takes a hit. You know, it's an art always will prevail. It's like life. You will try to kill it, but it'll pop it from somewhere else. Depends upon where there is struggle and where there's a story to be told. And we guys are in the middle of that. Like Radhika, you and I are currently transitioning on an everyday basis from stage to this screen that we see. So could you tell me a very in-ground insight of how is it that the audience can understand you better, the struggles you're facing as an artist, so that they understand that live it was like this, live shown on video was this, but performing live, how would an audience be able to help?
I mean, you know, it's funny because I remember there was a time when I would tell people, like, you know, I have a show happening and they're like, oh, we can't come because there's traffic and my child and my something. And I wish you were doing it in Gorakhpur. I don't live in Bombay. And I'm like, bitch, come on. So it feels like this is the moment for all you people who are dying. You know, like there's no comedy in my city. There are no wine. Now's the time, like go online and consume, because most of us also like not even able to charge what we normally would have charged for a ticket, which is fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, what it is, right? We're lucky we can charge anything sometimes, I feel, because the whole point of Art Matters was to raise money for people who aren't even getting work. So
yeah,
talking about being able to sell tickets is like first world freaking problems. But I do think that, you know, this is a great time for people to just try anything that they haven't tried before. So if you're watching us right now, you don't have to watch comedy, but you can watch anything really. There's so many things online. Just sort of key in anything and something will pop up. And the number of people doing free exhibitions and free shows and all of that, it's still there. So you actually have a chance to become part of this movement, you know. And to be able to, in a way, say you were there, that you supported artists at a time when it was really, you know, when it was really needed. So in that sense, I wish more people would be online watching stuff. It's easier.
That's true. Rajat, you wanted to add on something?
Yeah, no, but just funny thing is, everything is online, but now people have no time. Everybody is more busy now than they were before the lockdown. That's a bizarre thing.
That is so true.
You know?
That is so true. Yes.
Now that everything is available, you say, "Arey yaar, time kidhar hai? Kaise dekhega?"
I feel, basically, if I may surmise what Radhika and what Rajat are saying is, Radhika, those friends don't find us entertaining and they're trying their level best to give excuses to not make it to any version of a show. That's the takeaway. Get better friends. But that's true. We don't have time. Like,
get friends.
Like Radhika, let me ask you this. And Anaita, this is, and actually to everybody as such, how many calls did we do today? How many calls, how many video calls, how many times have you, today, just in a day?
I mean,
Well,
just two or three.
today is
2 or 3.
Saturday.
Rajas at 3. Okay.
Today is Saturday, so it was
Easy.
That is awesome. I would love to get there. Radhika.
Can I just say, I tailor-made for this lockdown, man. I am fine. Like, I'm not talking really to anyone. I have maybe in a week, I've got to say 5, 6 phone, maybe one a day. Today, I have one after this, maybe. This is the highlight of my day, by the way, today. This.
Yeah.
A lot of the work, you know what I'm also trying to do? I mean, I know if this is relevant to this conversation, but one of the things I'm trying to do, and I'm lucky again, and that's the reason we're having this whole, the reason Sanjay put this together is because there are people out there who don't have the benefit that some of us do. I can put 3 meals on my table, but I'm trying to focus on stuff I didn't get a chance to do when life was going on at its normal, ridiculous pace. And I was scrambling, and saying yes to every job, because that's how it is in the art world. You say yes to everything because you never know when that pipeline is going to dry up. So anything that comes to you, you're like, yes, 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 how can I make it all work? And now that isn't there, I'm trying to do a few things that, I didn't get a chance to do. But again, that's lucky. Most artists don't have that. So everyone listening has to basically contribute.
Guys,
for the people, for any other reason.
For everybody who's wondering what is this stream going to be called when it's live, it'll be called an unskippable ad for you to come and watch us tomorrow.
Yes.
what Radhika really brought us a great point here is that the fact that we have the privilege to actually talk about art and put our work together. We have the money as a privilege to put people are taken care of, food is taken care of. So we are already higher on the Maslow's triangle. But there are artists who were already struggling pre-COVID, and now during COVID, the recognition and the travel industry took a hit. So there is a huge hit in exchanges. So at a very industry level, it's hit. So we guys get to see quality of show. They don't have an audience to perform to, which is what tomorrow is about, bringing as many people to come and perform.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it, right? Like, I talk to some of our friends whose children have to go to Zoom class. But they can go to Zoom class because their parents own a computer or a smartphone and they have internet. I mean, there are kids out there who can't do any of that. Like, they literally are going to miss a year of school. And that's a big problem when you're all, it's just, there's so much. I don't want to be a downer.
Radhika, you're absolutely right. When this whole lockdown happened and, whatever, Lakshman Rekha, you can't step out of your house. I was like, for us street kids, you all know, Salam Balakra, I was like, house? Step out? I mean, how are they locked down in that 2x2 place on the pavement? And now that you've gone into this whole digital world, assuming that we are the Indian digital world, man, there's no bandwidth. I mean, how are these people going to do anything? I mean, does everybody have a smartphone to do their... And we're telling the government schools, boss, hello, we have all of these hundreds of kids, they need to do their homework. Aap phone pe kar dijiyega. Phone pe kar dijiyega. I mean, how, what, where, what's the bandwidth? Where's this phone? So the reality for the puppeteer or the magician or who performs on the street, it's completely different, right? For him, it's like, if I don't perform today, I don't eat, boss.
Yeah.
If I don't sell, my 5 toys that I've made, or that beautiful piece of, an artisanal piece of work, I'm not going to be able to take money home to my family. And artists don't have access to any financial services. I think that's the big thing. And, and one of the things that we wanted to do, as you all know, with Art Matters, I believe Art Matters, is really also how can we all come back together to discover, to collaborate, to work. And one of the things that my colleagues have been able to do is really get everybody to collaborate. So it's not just about I'm shooting myself in my bedroom and I'm sending you a little sweet video, but it's how can we use technology in a way to create something that's exciting and not just music. There's theater, there's comedy, there's dance, there's, and we hope that every, I believe, Art Matters, and we'll do many of them, not many, a few over the year, or over the coming years, because we do believe that these, again, are platforms for people to come together, for artists to come together and do what artists do best, which is perform, tell their story, be alive. An
Yeah.
artist without being able to tell their story is a dead artist.
That is extremely well said, and this is why, Anahita, this your opinion on this is very needed, because Radhika spoke about how, as a independent artist, as a comedian, which is slightly gets a little bit more, how much more she has to keep herself busy, and how she has to convert. As a theater performer, it's not a individual art anyway. It's now you have to work with teams, so not just coordinating but rehearsals. Then the director has to stop thinking stage, and now they have to start thinking, vertical screens. Do you think that kind of technological ideation is exciting in the world of theater, or do you think that is something where you let the directors handle?
So, you know what, Abish, what has happened is that there's been a debate since lockdown. There's been a debate. There are always theater people, correct, Rajat, who are saying, you know what, theater is live. You need an audience. You need to exchange energy, like pretty much like stand-up. You need to, even if the audience is silent, you can feel their breath. You can feel how they're thinking. And that is integral to theater, as it is with stand-up. And so there are a lot of actors and directors who feel, you know what, we'll just wait for the live space to open. And then there are many actors who are saying, you know what, and I think I'm in that half of the debate, who say that, you know what, this is going to be temporary. It may be a long temporary, but it's temporary. And during this period, let's try and explore. We may fail. It may not be the same, but let's consider experimenting and seeing how it goes and what comes out of it. So I think it's important because it's also important to fuel the creative mind. I think it's really important to do that, and also to reach out to an audience there. So
that's incredible, because the very fact that there is an ideology difference is exactly where all industries could also be at currently. Like, for example, I believe that this is an opportunity to evolve art to a newer blend, gets a newer audience in. And for example, Rajat, because you've been part of the theater and been part of the film as an industry, do you think there is a possibility of like an amalgamation of a live show that is broadcasted to an audience, but at the same time looks like you're watching
many years back, I saw at NCPA a recorded play. I was thinking to myself, first you do a play, and that was a bad production. I thought first you do a play in a non-theatrical way, then you shoot it in a non-cinematic way. So the amalgamation, as you call it, is terrible. In that, and what it becomes is a TV serial. That's what happens. That's what is very likely to happen.
Except rather when you have the resources like an Andrew Lloyd Webber does, where you can do like 17 cameras and shoot it in a way that is like, whoa.
Wim Wenders' film on Pina Bausch. Pina is phenomenal, but it's not. You know what I'm saying? It's not something which has been recorded like that for consumption somewhere else. It's something new, something which is a meeting place of two things. It's a bit like, if I can elaborate a little bit, give me a minute. A bit like adapting a novel for cinema. It can't be a transposition of that novel of words onto image. No, it has to find something else. It has to find a new way. Become a new, fresh image. Then it has value. Otherwise, it's okay. That was the play. This is the film. Bullshit.
That's incredible. So basically, at each step, art is already evolving, whether it's from a novel to a cinema to a web series. Like, for example, for someone who's seen Watchmen, which is a graphic novel, then a motion graphic novel, then to a movie, then to a series, I've been able to see the transition. For someone like me who absorbs, like I preemptively said, pop culture, I've been able to see an attempt at art. But I've also been seeing what is no effort at art. It's, you know what I've like, you know, the difference between an artist and a corporate is that the corporate person will do the job, but there's no polish, there's no empathy to it. With artists, there's empathy to the art. So at each step, you're checking quality, each step weighing each word. You're bringing your best on stage. It's a lot more. You're putting yourself at stake, which is why stage was important, because you could smell that fear. It's in the air. But in digital, that fear is gone. Now the power dynamic is like when you're live on stage, the audience and you are walking that tightrope together. They don't want you to fail. You don't want to fail. That's why you're in. That's why at the end there's a huge applause, because everyone loves the fact that they enjoyed the show. We transfer empathy in the same stage. But on Zoom, a lot of people are able to not find that balance. But for example, the very fact that there are people watching us, I can see that Namrata has multiple times said, yes, hey. We've got Revati who said, hi, Abish, this is Revati. Oh, Revati ma'am, my erstwhile teacher, looking forward to the show. Oh, yay, hi, Revati ma'am. Sorry, I was just setting an example. I just realized someone's watching. Okay, now I'm nervous. Okay. And then Rahul said, lovely. The fact that I now know 4 of these guys when I do my work online, and every time any of these guys pop up, I'll be like, hey, you're from that show. Oh, you're from this show. Revati ma'am, oh, you're commenting. This is great. Rahul said likes it. Namrata is just saying hi. So it has also made it intimate. So I feel like the evolution now, isn't it the artist's prerogative to now take the audience in to enjoy this now? Yeah, Radhika, you have something to add to this?
But I think I agree a little bit with what Rajat's saying also. There are certain, like you were saying about Watchmen, right? Like, I remember the first time I ever understood what it takes to change something from one medium to another was when I watched, what is that Hannibal Lecter, Jodie Foster movie, guys?
Silence of the
Lambs. When I watched Silence of the Lambs and I read the book separately, and I remember when I read the book, I was like, how do they make this movie? Because this book feels almost like a completely different thing. They've taken like one thing and made this movie. There's certain things you can't, like he said, there's certain things that aren't meant to go onto a screen. And there are certain things that you can't back from there directly onto any other medium. So this juggling act that we're doing is evolving as we go. So what you said right at the beginning, I think when we were not even taping, was that someone like you or me, right, who performs solo, and I think this would apply to groups of anybody, like musicians, dancers, actors, the works, is that we now have to think of what can you do with this medium. All of like my jokes, for example, whatever they may be, I can say some of them to the screen, and I can interact with a couple of people. Probably not Revati. I think Revati, being a teacher, will not love all of my jokes. But Revati,
I will love all of your jokes. You love your jokes about the ages stuff, and having a bath and stuff.
But I think that in some situations that can work. But then there are going to be some things that I'm going to have to literally think, okay, how can I make this joke, but make it for this medium? So maybe I can't use words at all, and then that's a whole different process that we all have to start going through.
Oh, fair enough. That is, there are some things that can't transition. Now that's at our level now, where we have the privilege of putting. Now let's put that same context which we have developed so far, and let's try to focus that on, let's say, artists that will be performing tomorrow, or for a lot of artists who genuinely don't have any other option but evolving. What do you, Anahita, Sanjoy, actually, between the two of you, if you could tell us, like, what at that level is the evolution that they need to do, that information, that education also needs to come from somewhere, that there is the option of the internet. For a lot of people, they might not know the evolution there. So there's like a kind of information passed down while the audience supports monetarily, leaders in art strategize for them to evolve. Do you think that's kind of like a thing that's in the works, Sanjoy?
Absolutely. But before I answer, I just wanted to offer you guys some popcorn, because Kim Jong-un has just come, Avik has just come and shouted at me about having popcorn on the show.
You're so mean.
It's a
I'm
show.
so glad.
I'm
so glad. Because I've been sipping coffee and I thought, is that rude in the middle of someone speaking? But I'm like, I always have coffee. And you with popcorn make me look like a saint.
Popcorn is it.
Great.
But, just before Anahita sort of, I'll give you an example which I think answers this question. Like Nathulal Solanki, 13th generation Nagara player and they blow the shank in this incredible way from the Choti Basti in Pushkar, and we know that Rajasthan and India lives in many generations, many centuries at the same time, and you go to Pushkar, it's really a throwback. Now they have created a piece for us using, I mean, in the traditional Nagara way, but they filmed it so beautifully that you'll see tomorrow. So it's not about sitting in the, in their bedroom or whatever, doing that piece, but they've gone out, they've filmed it, they've used technology. We brought it together and edited it, which sort of answers your question. How do these people, how do we adapt or adopt to this new technology? So it's, it's not the same. Hey, sitting in Varanasi, having, for those people who like to do the unspeakable things, especially now that you can't do in Bombay anymore and can't speak about and so forth. But hey, like
eat meat, right? You're talking about vegetarianism.
Vegetarian.
This has been said to you just in case if you guys say it is out of context. Please do not take this out of context. Back to you.
Absolutely, you can't do any of that stuff. But hey, that's what the stuff is, right? How do you adapt? And I think they have. If they have, I think, even when I was watching Radhika's piece today, because again, Kim Jong-un was sort of shouting at us about,
Let me give context to Kim Jong-un is for the people who are watching, because I feel like there's a lot of taken out. Kim Jong-un, no, not Sanjay doesn't have connection with the Kim Jong-un. He refers to
we have one at home. Hello.
Tomorrow's news articles will be extremely hilarious and out of context. So, for the most smarter ones, yes, Sanjay, sorry to cut you off. Go on.
No, I'm saying that they've used. I mean, people have used technology, and I think what Radhika's piece, for example, it's hysterically funny, and it doesn't matter whether she's there in person. Yes, I think what the difference is, and Rajat and Anaita and Radhika and Abish, all of you will know, is that exchange of the fluid, the exchange of the energy, the sweat being flung onto the first three rows of a stage, when you're performing kind of stuff. That is missing, and you can't really ever compensate for that by the screen and what Radhika said, which makes it very polite, makes the interaction very polite. Not that Radhika was very polite in her particular.
First of all, congratulations on summarizing Radhika's performance live experience from the front row, because I have seen it only from the back end. Now I know what Radhika's audience is going through.
I wear very absorbent underwear. I do not sweat on people. I may spit on them. There's some spitting, but...
Radhika, Vaz is not Corona approved live performer is what we are trying to say. You have to adopt on that. Okay. And I'm going to route this to you because we've spoken about the individual, and even as a theater performer, there is so much, there's already a battle, how not to go, how would you want this till we heal in this world? Currently we are bandaged. So, the way when your hand is fractured, there is a way you start using the rest of your body, and maybe let's consider we're fractured currently. And if we have to now prepare ourselves when the hand gets better, that interim period, how would you ideally want policymakers, funders, audience members, producers to work with theater as an art?
I think while we're saying that the pandemic is now and we're hoping that it's short-lived and stuff, I think we're going to be living with this for a while. Things will open up. We will go back to normal, but who knows what will happen 5 years later. And I think what the lesson that one has learned through this is that what happens if something like this repeats itself 5 years down the road? Maybe we should all put our heads together. And I really mean this. If we all just put our heads together and see if there was a way. I mean, yes, it would be fantastic if the government came on board, but I'm saying government aside, if we can figure ways in which, whether it's a tiny percentage of a ticket, whether it is something that each production house does, or, if we all just put aside a tiny amount for a certain section of artists and find a way in which we can create a body or a trust or whatever we may want to call it. That's for something like a Sanjoy to think of.
But that's a great idea.
What a fantastic idea. You're like a philosopher. When you started talking, I'm like, why doesn't this already exist? You're having a vision. Go on. We shouldn't disturb. Please preach. We genuinely think this is a great, at least we know where we could go to. Go on.
But I really think it would be so lovely because we're all able to, right? Like the people on the panel today, we're all able to go out there and perform if we chose to. We're able, but there are people who depend on our performances. And I mean, that's about it. That's all I have to say. But I would love for something like that.
If I visualize this summation of a plan that you have just, thought about and then told us, it's incredible, because if there is like an association or let's say a group of artists or a group of artists at our level of privilege agree to give a certain percentage to example, to let's say Art Matters or anyone else who's actually trying to help, because there'll be so many other, and we decide to give it, then I think it feels like from bottom up. So again,
Anahita, just 1 rupee per ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And imagine there are already so many artists out there. So I would say I would claim more. I wouldn't say 1 rupee per ticket. I would say 20% per ticket. It'll become double for us. But then depends upon how easy it is. We can make it to 10%. Then we can go to 2%. That way, for the artist, it feels like it is. I'm comfortable giving this much. The accountability is more. Then all of them will then get the opportunity to evolve. Sorry, rest Rajat, you were saying.
Actually, even pre-COVID, and now I'm speaking as a person who's part of Book My Show as well. But even pre-COVID, Book My Show did that. So every time you would buy a ticket, there would be a certain small amount that would be kept aside, which would go to Book a Smile, who would then fund things. But I'm saying now, during COVID, I do want, of course, I'm pointing at Sanjoy because, we're in conversation and trying to work out different ideas. But we would love to, through Book My Show, do more, and let's see how we can somehow figure something so all of us artists can come together and do something.
I also just wanted to say one quick thing. I think the audiences are, just the way we're saying, this pandemic could last forever, and also it may go away and then come back again. Yeah. So I feel like we've now seen the future, and I think the audiences are going to have to come along for the ride. Like, I think that is something we know is going to happen. So like, the way Sanjay was saying, there are these artists from all over the world, all over the country, at least in this situation, and for tomorrow's concert, that have taken the trouble to record themselves in a very artistic way. And it's not just, a straight to camera like rendition of, in fact, it may even be better than the live, sometimes because of the way in which it's been shot or whatever, it may even give you a more cinematic, more fun experience. And the truth is, I don't know when I would go to Varanasi, but I now get to see this because of COVID. Like, it wouldn't have happened otherwise. So I also think the audiences are going to slowly come around to the fact that this is the way it is. This is how we can see more, and that it's a privilege almost, except my friends in Gorakhpur. Those bastards are still not going to see anything.
Okay, wow. I feel like more than anything else, we need to take the next conversation about Radhika's friends in Gorakhpur, who clearly you call friends, they call you acquaintance. I think that's the takeaway of what we're discussing today. This was an intervention, Radhika. This was all planned by your friends in Gorakhpur to ask them to stop sending us links. We don't want to come for your show, Radhika. That's what it is.
Abish, I just wanted to add to what Anahita and Rajat said. Actually, the quantum of the problem that we are facing is huge. So the testing the temperature report and all the reports that have come out by, EY and so on and so forth. There's about 10 million jobs in the professional organized entertainment and event sector, which are at risk. 9 million of those are at risk. In the larger firmament of the creative industries, artisans, artists, blah, blah, blah. There's approximately 400 million people who are dependent on either a primary or a secondary income from the arts. And earlier, when there was a disaster, so the Manganyas or the Langas or whatever used to move from Jaisalmer to the next district and sing. And or if the crop failed, I mean, they used to go back to their art and craft of stitching and knitting and weaving, and then go to market with that, whether it was the local town market. So while this idea of us having, getting together, etc., like for example, just so far with Art Matters, and ever since we started, we've helped only 3,240 odd families. So look at the quantum. So what we need really is policy. And going back to what Rajat says, absolutely true. There is a responsibility to government to be able to put together policy that will make this happen. And there is an example. In Brazil, for example, why is it so completely robust? The creative field there, dancers, samba players, the big Rio carnival procession. It's because every locality, so a Pawai or a defense colony or a Lajpat Nagar collective, in that district, the 1% tax that's picked up by the local traders, from the local traders, you buy whatever, 1% of that goes directly towards supporting the arts infrastructure for that district. And in return, those people, the shopkeeper, his family, blah, 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 gets a subscription to attend, say, 12 shows in the year as a return to his whatever. So what that does in Brazil is it fills your auditorium without you having to spend a huge amount of money on marketing. It supports not just the arts, but also sports, literature, blah, 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 because all of this is helped by this tax that, Rajat was saying, 1 rupee. I'm saying, why can't we look at that? Because that's the model that's worked. And it really has. Germany, for example, has put out 3.5 billion euros in support to the creative sector. Why? Because they understand that the contribution to Germany's economy from the creative sector, restaurants and tourist spots and entertainment venues and bars and stand-up places and nightclubs and sex operatives, etc., all of that contributes 9% to German's economy. It contributes 18% to the UK's economy. So, you are looking, at a substantial economic contribution. We are not about being jholawalas. And I really want to emphasize this, that art is Anahita's beautiful staircase, the person who's created that, or the statue that she's sat on her chair, or Rajat's headphones, the design of that, or Radhika's wonderful cherry blossom t-shirt, your lighting, whether it's
Hey, I was waiting for what it is. What is the thing you liked about what I've done? But go on.
Yeah,
Yes.
What did he milk from that?
Reflecting the light, all of that. So art is around us, design is around us, and we are a creative economy. The sooner that we realize that we stop being a manufacturing economy and we are a creative, service-driven economy, the faster India will get to that mythical 5 trillion, blah, blah,
That is
blah.
an incredible point. But now that you spoke about design, I feel like I was trying to keep it minimalist. Wait, now that you liked it, tell me if this is overdoing it. Because I want to see how it transitions from live to digital. Hold up, live example. Sanjay.
Guys, look at Abhish's spaceship chair here.
What about them?
It's a NASA chair. What is it, from NASA? Your
No.
chair, Abhish?
No, yes, it's a coding
look
chair.
at
It's not.
NASA. Everybody
Look what I
clap.
did.
Oh, way to go. Love
I
it.
feel like I should come and tomorrow I should just perform as, hi, my name is Abish Mathew. I'm not going to do any jokes. I'm going to show you about my lighting. And then everyone's like, what? Why is this?
Hey,
So
but
it's
Abish, MIT, you can create your clothing out of this lighting that will glow. So as you become more excited, it stops glowing in different ways.
Don't worry, I glow very differently, so that's already a tell. But that is for a conversation that's offline. For the people who are watching, it shouldn't end up being like, wait, we are insightful about what's going on in Abish's life. But what I really enjoyed about today's conversation is that even though we started off with like, oh, we're going to talk about, you know, what is happening tomorrow, and we'll discuss about how art matters. I'm so glad that you guys are able to go deep into not just the problem, but also give an insightful view to everyone watching about possible directions of solution. All it takes is the audience, like the example that you said in Brazil, it took the audience to help the artists to create more performance pieces so that the audience has something to feel, look forward to, enjoy, experience, evolve. And that symbiotic relationship at such a small scale is what we're trying to suddenly from like a district to now global. So it's going to take time for empathy to reach everybody, but this is like a first step for us. Now,
But
before we wrap,
really, Sanjoy, it's phenomenal what you guys are doing. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, one small step and then many more like that. To have thought of it, to have worked on it, and to have pulled it. Wow.
Well, it's actually
Congratulations.
all the artists, all the 450 artists, Rajat, everybody like you who's contributed to it. And I think that sense of,
It's the
hey,
initiative.
Let's
It's your
do it.
initiative.
Let's come together. You know?
don't worry, guys, I'll take the credit. Everyone, you can thank me. I made this possible. See,
Thank
my
you, Abish.
hubris
Thank you.
has no limit. But thank you, everybody, for joining in. Thank you so much for watching the entire stream. And you guys can check this out later. I would urge you to watch the entire thing. Such great conversations we've got, possible end solutions. And once again, my cue. Wait, I was going to announce. Yeah, everybody give it a for good Bharat, but he's already here. It seems like my Oscar speech is getting over and they've started lowering the mic. When Ankur appeared, I was like, okay, it's time for me to go. Okay, back on to you, Ankur.
Thank you so much, Abish. Thank you, guys. Please, let's have a big round of applause for Abish.
Thank you,
For
Abish.
such a fantastic conversation and such a useful conversation. And thank you to our lovely guests, Anahita, Sanjoy, Radhika, and Rajat. Thank you. Thank you on behalf of all the artists. And thank you, audiences, for being such a wonderful audience. Keep on supporting the arts. And yes, tomorrow, 5 p.m., don't forget, do log on to all our Facebook, YouTube pages, and of course, bookmyshow.com. And keep on supporting the arts. Have a good night.
Guys, bye-bye. Thank you. See you tomorrow.
I believe
Art matters.
I believe
I believe
art matters.
I believe
Art matters. I believe art matters.
I believe
Art matters.
I believe
Art matters. I believe. We believe.
art matters.